Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Everyone who reads it must converse. Thanks for coming by. And today I'm going to talk about a novel that is essentially American. It is a quintessential American novel, I would say, and it's Underworld by Don DeLillo. This this book's awesome. I mean, it has its strengths and it has its it's not going to be for everybody, but essentially this is a book, I would say, that is a reader's book. It is for the love of reading and illustrating people and the culture of America and at certain time points. This goes from like the late 50s and through the 60s, a bit in the 70s maybe, but then 80s and 90s. And this book, I believe, was written and first conceived in like 1997. And so what we have is a portrait, because a lot of this book takes place in New York City. Is we have a pre 9/11 New York and a pre 9/11 American culture. And that kind of thing is really interesting to look at and read about from our vantage point here in 2021, right? So, why do I say this is essentially American and like just a quintessential American novel? You start off with this with baseball, okay? With a baseball game that, and we're in the final innings. We're actually in overtime, extra innings. And it's the Dodgers and the Giants, this great rivalry. And there is a home run that to win it that was completely impossible. Nobody thought they would win, the Giants, and they do win, and they win by just an amazing shot. So it's a kind of a culture defining. It defines that time period in New York very, very well. And this baseball is picked up by a young boy, an African American boy named Cotter. And Cotter gets the ball. Cotter Martin is his last name. And he had jumped the turnstile and snuck into the game. He skipped school and he went to be at the game. And he gets this ball and he has this amazing piece of American history. And that ball plays a part in this story, big time. Not major theme, but it is a major theme in the way that it is a essentially American, right? There is some very cool stuff that is worked out through Cotter and his father, Manx is Cotter's father's name, and how he handles the ball and that kind of thing. But then watching this ball kind of change hands and what its life cycle is very, very interesting. But our main character is who has the ball at the time that this book was written, late 90s, right? And that is a guy named Nick Shea. Nick Shea is our main character for all intents and purposes, and his wife Marion. And they have a strained marriage, but they do love each other. And it's this kind of thing where what this book is about is people and about how we live, the struggle to live, the struggle for life, the struggle, to be yourself and to be a person in this world. Nick has had a very kind of tumultuous life. He accidentally um, kills somebody when he's 17 years old. He's not, given a murder charge. It was an accident, the circumstances of it are very strange, and kind of calls to you what the main thrust of this book is about, and we'll get to it. But what he does in life is he's a waste management engineer, and there is so much about trash and garbage, and not as a negative thing in this book, not as just byproduct and something that is unsightly, and something we don't think about, and this kind of thing. This main character thinks about it all the time, in his professional life, but then also in his personal life. Is very mindful of the waste that he is accumulating, and what happens to it step by step after it leaves his house, things like that. So it is kind of calling out that waste and this kind of thing is just a natural part of life and a natural part of what human beings do, what civilizations do. And there is a lot about that. You go through Vietnam War, Cold War, and these kind of parts of the book are very well done. I mean, this book is very well done when it comes down to it. There is not a part of this that is not intriguing to read about, and that's just beautifully written. It is very well done. So it explores all these different things. Before you know it, you have accumulated all of this stuff. And is there any waste there? If there is anything that is waste, is it to be discarded? Like, really, is it worthless? Or is it something that's part of the beauty of being a human being? There's a lot of that kind of thing. There's another main character. Her name is Clara, and she is an artist, and part of an artist's group. And they are making art out of your day-to-day things, quotidian things. And there is a love of words in this book. Not just as a reader to read in the book. I mean, there's characters in here that love words, and how the narrative is constructed is just a beautiful homage to words. So ultimately, I think that what this is calling out in a very skillful way, it is big, so it takes a while to get there, to call out the kind of thing that I'm going to say, right? And I think it does it very well, and it's worth it to read, that's for sure. But it is the struggle to live, and especially through the war and things like this, those kind of scenes, and just the day-to-day struggle in life of our guy Nick Shea, there is a struggle to live that is very mindful of death. And that death is a very essential part of life, because that is what actually gives meaning to living. If we were never going to die, then we would never count any specific amount of time as any better than any other amount of time. We could always just we can do whatever we want whenever we want to do it. But since our time is limited, it gives it value. And there is a struggle for life inherent in every character. And the Underworld, what it shows, I think, is this kind of shadow part of the human being, that we are always struggling inside. Everybody is struggling inside to find that meaning and to justify themselves and validate their actions to themselves, And the Underworld is the inside, your inner self, where all that happens. It is very, very striking. And I enjoyed the read. That's for sure. I think it is worth it to read, and when it comes down to it, this is something that I will reread. I'll give it some time, maybe like few years, 5 years or something, and then read this again, and it will be a fruitful read, I'm sure. There is a lot of characters. There's a lot going on. It is going to be worth it to touch on it. So if you've gotten this far through the video, you see I have 2 copies. My reading copy here, I'll give away to anybody who wants to email me. My email is on my About page of my channel here. So email me. Let me know you want Underworld, and I'll be sending it your way. Thank you, BookTube. Bye-bye.